to Florida. Donald Trump is stopping by our show, and he's going to take a couple of your questions, and Donald Trump is still there. And here's the question. This comes from Joanne, says, at the end of the debate, you said, quote, I could have said some terrible things about Hillary, then resisted. I'm not looking for you to be mean, but I didn't like that missed opportunity. What's your reaction?
I was talking about the many affairs that Bill Clinton had. Yeah. And because his daughter was in the room, Chelsea, who I think is a lovely young woman and actually friendly with Ivanka, their friends, I just couldn't do it. I just didn't want to do it in front of her. I told that to Brian last night. I didn't want to do it in front of her. I thought it would have been, I didn't think it was worth the shot. I didn't think it was nice.
All right.
See? Do I have heart?
There you go. And you had mentioned that in our A block. Donald Trump, what's the deal with the sniffles? I heard you in, I think, the first answer. It sounded like you had seasonal allergies or a little cold. What's up with that?
No sniffles. No. The mic was very bad, but maybe it was good enough to hear breathing. But there was no sniffles. I don't have.
So you don't have a cold?
Allergy. No cold.
Okay.
Every once in a while, but no cold.
All right, we have one more question for you. This is Choctaw Elvis 88 on Twitter asking you, I'm impressed with Mr. Trump's ability to campaign so aggressively. What does he do to maintain the pace?
Well, it's good genes. If you don't have good genes, I've seen it. I've seen guys out in the campaign trail. It's tough. You have to have a lot of energy. You have to have a lot. I was talking to Hillary about it, about her stamina. I don't believe she has stamina to be the president. She's home all the time. And, I just don't think she has the stamina to be the president.
Your staffers say you never sleep.
Because I don't sleep much. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing your show. Don't forget, I got in at 2:30 in the morning, and now I'm doing your show. And then I'm catching a plane at 8, and I'll have one of the world's fastest showers, only because of your show. Your timing was not so good.
Well, thank you very much. It's nice to know you're doing it without a shower.
But no, I'll take the other change. I'll do a fast shower. That's better. Right?
Donald, exit question, lightning round. What grade would you give Hillary Clinton on her debate performance last night?
I would say a C+.
What grade would you give yourself?
Well, I don't like to grade myself, but I know I did better than Hillary in every poll has shown that I did better.
And is she the best partner you ever sparred with?
I think Ted Cruz was tough. I think that Marco was actually very tough. He had a little breakdown once with somebody, but he was a good debater. Yeah. Marco's a very good debader. I thought those two were very tough. And she'll be tough. I think she'll be tough. I thought she was very bad in the first half when they were asking normal questions. And when they were asking unfair questions, she got better.
Well, at what grade would you give Lester Holt?
I'd give him a C+. I thought he was okay. I thought he was fine.
All right. You can check
nothing
the box.
Outstanding. I thought he gave me very unfair questions at the end, the last 3-4 questions, but I'm not complaining about that. I thought he was okay.
Okay. Well, you've got to go and take a shower. Donald Trump, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Check that box now. Now we're already talking about the second debate.
All right. Yep, we'll move ahead. Meanwhile, you just heard Donald Trump say it right here. We got hammered last night. Well, Clinton seemed to get a pass.
What do you mean he got hammered? He doesn't drink.
So the questions. Notice the questions. A fair and balanced debate with Lisa Booth and Joe Trippi.
Good morning and welcome back to Fox and Friends. A couple quick headlines to bring you right now. Overnight, a chilling confession. Police say that Arkan Seaton admitting to killing 5 people at a Macy's makeup counter at a Washington State mall. That horrific attack lasting just 60 seconds. Seaton now officially charged with 5 counts of first-degree premeditated murder. New details coming in the death of Miami Marlins star pitcher Jose Fernandez. TMZ reporting today that the 24-year-old spent his final hours partying at a Miami hotspot before that deadly boat accident. This comes as chilling text messages show that he may have been upset before that crash that also killed 2 of his friends. One of those friends getting a text message telling them to stay close to the shore and to be careful and keep Jose.
All right, so here we go. Hillary Clinton not mincing words in her attacks against Trump, slamming him as, quote, unfit and unprepared for the presidency. Who knew she felt that way? Here's what she had to say about that.
I have much better judgment than she does. There's no question about that. I also have a much better temperament than she has. I have a winning temperament. AFL CIO the other day, behind the blue screen, I don't know who you were talking to, Secretary Clinton, but you were totally out of control. I said, there's a person with a temperament that's got a problem.
That was the speech when you were saying, I should be winning by 50 points against this guy. But what will voters think of her answers and her attacks, as well as his attacks on her? Here to debate that and examine is Washington Examiner's own contributor, Lisa Booth, and Fox News contributor, as well as Democratic strategist Joe Trippi. We also pay him. Welcome to both of you. Joe, you say what about the temperament?
I don't think last night's debate helped Donald Trump very much. I think the big group that they were both fighting over were college-educated whites. There were a lot of people watching, a lot of people cheering both of them. But the people they were fighting over were college-educated whites, and I think Donald Trump just didn't get there. He just didn't get to those people. I'll be surprised. I'll look at the polls afterwards, but I just don't think it happened.
Did Hillary?
I don't think either candidate made any significant gains last night, but I do think Donald Trump had ample opportunities to question her judgment, which should be in question. Especially when they were talking about the cyber attacks and what either candidate would do to prevent those attacks, specifically mentioning Russia. Donald Trump then should have turned to Hillary Clinton and said, how are you possibly going to lead the country on this new cyber warfare when you jeopardized national security, when you had an email server that was less secure than Gmail? You deleted tens of thousands of emails.
He missed a lot of opportunities. Even when the emails came up, it was sort of like he'd go back to explain his taxes.
He had a quick score,
but then he'd move back and defend and explain things himself.
But I'm also as equally disappointed at the fact that she wasn't asked about that. She wasn't asked about a lot of the big things that have been in the news for Hillary Clinton. Emails, Clinton Foundation, Benghazi, none of these things came up in the debate last night. I think the email server was mentioned once, and that was because of Donald Trump's doing, and I think Lester Holt had reiterated something that Donald Trump had said, but that should have been a question to Hillary. If they're questioning his tax returns, how are you not asking her about deleting tens of thousands of emails and using software called
Just to cap that real quick, we just know foreign policy is coming up next, so I think it's is it Martha Raddatz will be the...
Yeah, I believe so.
So when you talk about foreign policy, that's when you can drive a truck through the cyber security. I want you to hear how this ended, and that is a critique on Hillary Clinton and her lack of endurance. Listen.
She doesn't have the look. She doesn't have the stamina. I don't believe she does have the stamina. You have to be able to negotiate our trade deals. And I don't believe that Hillary has the stamina.
As soon as he travels to 112 countries and negotiates a peace deal, a ceasefire, a release of dissidents, an opening of new opportunities in nations around the world, or even spends 11 hours testifying in front of a congressional committee, he can talk to me about stamina.
Hillary has experience, but it's bad experience.
Joe.
I think this whole thing, first of all, when you look at the dial tests that we were showing earlier in the show, when she hit that thing about the 11 hours, you saw all three lines start to go up. I think this is the problem here for Donald Trump is he had to show he was prepared to be president. He bragged about not preparing for the debate. It was clear to me from the beginning when he was doing basic stump speech stuff at the first questions, that he hadn't really prepared for this debate. And I think that's a problem because too many of the undecideds, that's what they think about him. They think he's unqualified, he's not ready. And so he didn't prove that last night. That's the thing he had to do to get those people.
It's kind of interesting. I thought she started slow. You think that he sounded scripted in the beginning.
Yeah, I did.
But I think the strongest part of that exchange for Donald Trump was when he said, okay, but you didn't exercise the right judgment. You didn't make the best decisions. Because when you look at polling, CBS Battleground Polling found 55% of Americans want big changes when it comes to politics, big changes when it comes to the economy. And you also look at Quinnipiac polls in the past that have asked questions about radical change to Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio. 70-something% of Americans want radical changes. So they think the system has failed, and she is the status quo.
Right. I failed if I don't wrap up right now. But Joe and Lisa, we're going to find out who's right because we're going to get a poll in the next few days.
Thank you, Brian.
And we know where it was trending, and we'll see if it stops or if it changes. Thanks, Joe Trippi and Lisa Booth. I hope to see you in the green room. Coming up straight ahead, Hillary Clinton has no problem calling Donald Trump a racist, and the rest of America, too.
I think implicit bias is a problem for everyone, not just police. Too many of us in our great country jump to conclusions about each other.
Because of our implicit racism. Tucker Carlson has a few things to say about that. Tucker looks exactly like that in person.
This was expected to be the most watched debate ever. The ratings were expected to rank up with the finale of Cheers, with the finale of MASH. For real, which makes sense if you think about it, because in a way, this election kind of feels like the series finale of America.
All right, there you go. Did you miss the big debate last night? Rudy Giuliani, come on over here.
No, I watched it twice, including I stayed up until 4 in the morning.
What do you mean you watched it twice? 4 in the morning?
Watched it
You're
live?
on
You were there live.
You're damn
and
right.
then you watched it again?
Yeah, then I went home and I watched Lester Holt do Candy Crowley at least twice.
What did he do that you didn't like?
Well, the first thing he said was stop and frisk is unconstitutional. Well, it happens to be not unconstitutional. Terry versus the United States is the law of the land by the Supreme Court of the United States. It has never been reversed, and we do stop and frisk in New York and all over America.
It was struck down by one judge here in New York.
Not as unconstitutional as applied. In other words, it was being done incorrectly, according to the judge.
And it was being appealed, and this mayor decided not to appeal.
Not only was it being appealed, the Court of Appeals of the Second Circuit had excoriated her, basically said she was wrong, entered an injunction against the enforcement of her order, and removed her from the case. Everything Donald said. And Holt went ahead and contradicted him.
And Donald Trump...
Ignorantly.
Donald Trump last night said it works. Stop and frisk works. And you said, was it the New York Times this morning had an article about how it does work?
I think it had to do with whether or not the murder
Crime
rate had
rate's
gone
up.
up or down. And apparently the murder rate in New York
Had gone down dramatically after stop and frisk.
Of course it did. It went down 65%. But the thing that's wrong is Lester Holt said straight out, stop and frisk is unconstitutional. Lester Holt is not a lawyer. He's wrong. It was decided in 1959 by Earl Warren. It is still the law of the land. Every cop does stop and frisk in every part of America. And she said the same thing. You know, I'll give her an excuse because she failed the bar exam. But I'm not going to allow him to play lawyer and contradict our candidate. And I'd like to know, when did a moderator become a fact checker? And if you're going to be a fact checker, you better darn be right. You better go read the United States Supreme Court decision. Yeah. And you better go talk to Cavuto. And you better go talk to Hannity. And you better go talk
about what? About what?
About whether he was opposed to the Iraq War. One of the reasons I was reluctant to support him was because he was against the Iraq War. I happen to be in favor of the Iraq War. I still am in favor of the Iraq War.
Rudy, what did you think about her performance last night?
I thought her performance was... I thought her performance was okay. I mean, she was just sort of programmed Hillary, everything you would expect. And I thought Donald's performance was excellent in the respect that he showed the American people he can be president. And I thought his restraint at the end was absolutely remarkable.
And why?
At those terrible things she said about him in front of his daughter and his children, and his concern for saying terrible things about, we know what he would say about Bill Clinton. My God, the man disgraced the office of the United States presidency. And he got away with something where any chief executive would be fired, and she went ahead and attacked the victim for 6 months until the victim had the proof. And boy, they got caught in line number 1012.
What does that have to do with Hillary?
She attacked Monica Lewinsky.
So that shows how you treat women.
Tell me you're a feminist. Tell me you're a feminist if you take money from countries that kill women. Tell me you're a feminist when you take millions of dollars from countries who assault women, who don't allow women to drive, who don't allow women equal rights. You go pose as a feminist? But look, that's up to the two of them. What I am offended by is Lester Holt interfering twice in the debate, saying that stop and frisk is not constitutional. Dead wrong. Hillary Clinton said the same thing. Dead wrong. Terry against the United States. Go read it. Written in 1958.
So you are fact-checking Lester Holt?
No, I'm a lawyer. I'm not a moderator who misrepresents on television. I'm a lawyer.
You're really angry about this.
Am I angry about it? I thought after Candy Crowley we saw the last of it. What Holt did last night, if journalism has ethics, if it has ethics, he violated the rules of ethics. Now, if you're going to interrupt and you're going to correct me in front of 100 million people, you better be right. He is dead wrong. First of all, a district judge cannot overrule the United States Supreme Court. Number two, she found it unconstitutional as applied, not unconstitutional. Hillary Clinton, as a former law student, should know the difference. Third, Donald Trump's description of what happened, including the judge being removed from the case, was totally correct.
You mentioned that at the very end of the debate, he kept his mouth shut and he didn't attack Hillary.
He didn't go there.
Right.
He's a good man.
Now, by doing that, I know that his team was telling him, you need to stay in control because you can't lose this debate. So he did that. Now we look at the polls this morning. He's ahead in most of the polls. So is he listening to Kellyanne? Is he saying
he's going to win the election and he won the debate? I'm not here to argue about whether he won the debate or not. And if you want to think he lost the debate, you can think he lost the debate. I'm here to say that what Lester Holt did is completely unprofessional and totally unethical.
What was the second thing he did?
The second thing he did was Baghdad. He interrupted him twice and said, "Oh, no. I'm sorry, not Baghdad, but Iraq."
The Iraq War.
He said, you didn't say that you were opposed to the Iraq War beforehand. And he should have had enough energy to check the sources, including, I was on Neil Cavuto's show later, and I saw the tape.
Yeah.
And he opposed the Iraq War before the Iraq War. And he had Sean Hannity available, and about 20 of Donald's friends who could have been available to tell him that. Now, you can't do that unless you do the hard work at checking.
The thing is, there's got to be a way for him to get through the tax question, the birther question, and the Iraq War question, or else he's never going to make any progress in these debates. Whether it's a slick way of moving it through communications or not, these are three things where you spend way too much time on.
Well, okay, look, was he perfect? Was she perfect? No. Did he win the debate? Yes. But should a moderator tell you you're wrong? You're wrong. And the moderator didn't do his homework, and the moderator is wrong. Who's gonna fact check the moderator on Terry against the United States? Go read it. Written by none other than Earl Warren. It's an 8-1 decision of the Supreme Court. It is the law of the land. 100 million people last night were misled by Lester Holt and so-called lawyer Hillary Clinton.
All right. Rudy, thank you very much for getting up and coming on over after a 15 minutes sleep. Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much, Mr. Mayor. Meanwhile, coming up straight ahead, Hillary Clinton has no problem calling Donald Trump a racist, and the rest of America as well.
I think implicit bias is a problem for everyone, not just police. Too many of us in our great country jump to conclusions about each other.
Tucker Carlson has a few things to say about that. He is on deck next.
Everyone? Did I hear her right? And Donald Trump's challenge to Hillary: release your email and I'll release my tax returns, which are being audited. We're going to talk to Hillary Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta about that when he joins us live in the next 10 minutes.
Secretary Clinton, last week you said we've got to do everything possible to improve policing, to go right at implicit bias. Do you believe that police are implicitly biased against black people?
Lester, I think implicit bias is a problem for everyone, not just police. I think, unfortunately, too many of us in our great country jump to conclusions about each other.
Everyone is implicitly biased. Tucker Carlson joining us live from Chicago.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tucker.
That line surprised you and offended you. Why?
Well, it's absurd. I mean, it's absurd. I mean, look, does anybody really believe, any adult actually think that white racism is the biggest problem in America's inner cities? I mean, we've seen a 31% increase in murders in America's biggest cities in the last 2 years. Is that the result of bias? No. I mean, let's like be adults here. I mean, she needs to get out the vote, and I get it, and convincing voters that Trump hates them is an expedient way to do that. But these are serious topics, and that's just not a serious take on it. She acts like America is still in 1955. And so it's sort of beneath, actually, a presidential debate to say something like that.
But your point, it's a get out the vote thing.
Well, sure, and it's a very divisive one, but it's also a very tired one. I mean, look, the truth is from last night, Trump is not a great debater, and it was frustrating if you don't support Hillary to see him miss opportunity after opportunity. On the other hand, the bar is really low. The press hates him. They've been painting him as this monster, as this fascist. And the guy you saw last night was not a monster or a fascist. He's not, again, a particularly skilled debater. But so what? It doesn't help her. Any person in America who's even tempted to vote for Hillary Clinton is already on her side. And so the rest of voters, those in the middle, are just looking for basically permission to vote for Trump. They just want to make sure that he's not crazy. And I think that he met that standard.
All right, there was another comment that made him really mad. Listen to this comment, and we'll talk about it.
Typical politician, all talk, no action, sounds good, doesn't work, Never going to happen. Our country is suffering because people like Secretary Clinton have made such bad decisions in terms of our jobs and in terms of what's going on. Now, look, we have the worst revival of an economy since the Great Depression. And believe me, we're in a bubble right now. And the only thing that looks good is the stock market. But if you raise interest rates even a little bit, that's going to come crashing down. We are in a big, fat, ugly bubble. And we better be awfully careful.
Tucker, what was your reaction?
That's true. That was one of the best lines of the entire debate. It went basically unnoticed as everyone was talking about his sniffing or whether he's a sexist
Why is that
or
the
whatever.
best line?
Because nobody says it, and it's true. There has been a massive increase of wealth at the top end driven by our monetary policy. 90% of the income gains in the past 2 years go to the top 1%. That's the result of the actions taken by the Federal Reserve that haven't helped the average person. They've created a massive and looming debt crisis that everyone in finance is aware of and is worried about, and nobody ever says publicly. And by the way, the Congress says, we can't control the Federal Reserve. Really? Then why are you there? Like, this is a looming problem that nobody mentions, and good for him for saying so.
Yeah, just real quick, Joe Trippi said that it was about white, educated voters going to the Hillary Clinton, staying in the Hillary Clinton column away from Donald Trump. Did Donald Trump do anything to get them?
Yeah, I mean, that's the line. Look, that's the category that's embarrassed to say out loud that they vote for Trump. You know, I think he met the standard for sanity and not being embarrassing. He's winning is the bottom line, and I think he's still winning this morning.
Someday I'd like to meet that standard.
All right, Tucker Carlson joining us today from the Windy City.
Me too.
Tucker, thank you very much. See you this weekend.
Thanks, guys.
You bet.
Thank you, Tucker. That was the most serious Tucker interview we've ever had.
Right?
Yeah. Serious topics.
I know.
All right, coming up straight ahead, Donald Trump doubles down on his challenge to Hillary Clinton.
Release my tax returns against my lawyer's wishes when she releases her 33,000 emails that have been deleted. As soon as she releases them, I will release.
All right, we're going to ask Hillary Clinton's campaign chairperson in person, John Podesta. He joins us live. Don't ask me how I know. Okay, now I know. How you doing, Phil?
John? Donald Trump joined us earlier, touting overnight polls that say that he won last night's debate. So what does the Clinton campaign have to say about that? Here to respond is the Clinton campaign chairman, John Podesta. Thank you, John, for being with us.
Nice to be on. Thanks.
Well, what did you think about the debate last night?
Well, you know, we felt really good about it. I think that she came in prepared, ready to talk about the economy, ready to talk about all the issues. She had specific plans. And I thought he came in unprepared and kind of fell apart, particularly towards the end of the debate. So, you know, we looked at the overnight polls, and CNN had it 62-24. The focus groups that were being done real time had her winning. So, you know, I know, you know, maybe that was a poll of Breitbart viewers, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, Breitbart said that he won by 75% and she got about 25%. Variety is saying that Donald Trump, putting Donald Trump at 54% and then Hillary at 45%. So the polls.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what the real polls look like and what the American people say, because I think they saw someone who was strong, who could take on the job of commander-in-chief, and I think. Inexplicably, I think Donald Trump tried to bully his way through, but he couldn't do it. She stood up to him, and
well, how about at the end? People are accusing her of bullying him at the end when she talked about the women issues, and he didn't bite.
Well, look, I think that he has a history of saying really terrible things about women, and she called him out. You know, one of the things I think that she's done, she's never attacked him except with his own words. She just. And, you know, I think there's a natural credibility to that. If you're just calling him out for things he's actually said, I know he likes to pretend that he didn't say them, but when you call him out for things like he's actually said, then I think people naturally believe that, okay, well, that's a fair charge.
Mm-hmm. Did she walk away feeling like, that was pretty easy? Because many people are claiming that Lester Holt was in her camp because he did interrupt Trump 30 times and only Hillary 19 times. And they really didn't talk about the email issue too much, and Lester Holt didn't ask her questions about the Clinton Foundation and about Benghazi.
Look, we have a kind of rule in our campaign, when you're complaining about the moderator, you're losing. So even like when Matt Lauer did the commander-in-chief interview, we felt internally that it was unfair. We never said anything about it. And I think what people saw, and Holt, I think, put him on notice that if he tried to rewrite history on his early support for the Iraq War, if he tried to rewrite history on his support for birtherism, which gave him his kind of political boost in public life, that he would call him out, and he did. And I think on balance it was fair.
Well, to be fair, you guys were upset with Matt Lauer. So does that mean you felt like you lost the forum?
No, I think that we felt like, we just don't complain about the moderator, and I think the Trump side shouldn't do it either a little bit. I think Rudy Giuliani, I saw he was on the show earlier today, said that if he was given advice to Mr. Trump, that he would tell him not to go to the last two debates. We're worried about that. We think that maybe they're probably up in Trump Tower right now saying, given the performance he turned in last night, and particularly given the next one is a town hall, which he never really answers citizens' questions, maybe they're given a second thought to actually having agreed to do these debates.
I asked Mr. Trump last night and his son Eric, what was the highlight? What was the best moment for your dad and for you, Mr. Trump? What was the best moment for Hillary?
Look, I think her opening comments when the first question
about her granddaughter
was what about the future? What are they about the economy? And she talked about her granddaughter and her second birthday and thinking about that and what she wanted to do to build an economy that was working on the middle class. That was a great moment.
We've asked her every day to come on the show. We interview Donald Trump all the time. Please tell her I'd love to interview her.
I will do
coming
so.
Up next, we have Laura Ingraham.
Our country has tremendous problems, and we have a country that needs new roads, new tunnels, new bridges, new airports, new schools, new hospitals. And we don't have the money because it's been squandered on so many of your ideas.
I have a feeling that by the end of this evening, I'm going to be blamed for everything that's ever happened.
Why not?
Why not?
When you try to act holier than thou, it really doesn't work.
He called this woman Miss Piggy.
Typical politician. All talk, no action. Sounds good, doesn't work.
Just join the debate by saying more crazy things. Woo, okay.
There was a big debate at Hofstra University, the first debate, but their third debate overall. What a boon it was with that school. What do you guys think about what happened last night?
Oh, you mean third debate at Hofstra? Yeah, they've gotten the third. This is the third time they've gotten the first debate.
Consecutive
It's awesome.
Campaign cycles. Joining us right now live from New York, we've got Laura Ingraham. Good morning to you.
Oh, good. Is it morning? I don't know. I was with Handy at 2 in the morning at Hofstra.
Really?
Monica Crowley and I were in a car coming back into the city. You know what she said, and Ainsley will appreciate this. She said, Laura, you're going to have no time to get ready for Fox and Friends, so just sleep in your eye makeup, take off your foundation, and wake up, and that'll all be done. I said, Monica, I'm going to mention that. The first thing I go on, it's like, handy tips from Monica Crowley.
That is so funny, because Brian and I had the same conversation.
Yeah, yours looks great. I love what you did, the shaping. Excellent.
I left my rouge on from
the waxing.
From Sunday.
You took a little too much off on the top.
Oh, really?
Fantastic.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the debate last night. People were tuned in. She didn't pass out. She didn't cough.
She looked good.
He didn't look crazy, and he had, he had a temperament that seemed presidential.
I think that montage, first of all, whoever just edited that montage did a great job. Fantastic. And I think that actually did capture last night. Strength, strong. He comes out in pretty much every answer like, I'm in charge. And I understand, the people who watch every question say, oh, he shouldn't have left this on the table. He should have mentioned the Clinton Foundation. I was doing that because this is what we all do. Yep. But he's a builder. He's a businessman. He's an agent of change in the community, and he wants to change Washington. So I think, if you just do debate scoring, maybe she came out a little bit ahead, but today, it's still the same election as it was yesterday. It's a change election.
But keep in mind, there was momentum. If the polls stay the same, that means momentum stopped. Do you believe the momentum will continue?
I think he's going to go into the next debate, and we'll see that. I'm not sure, to be perfectly candid. I don't know, but I think, again, this election last night, we saw someone, as he said, who's been around for 30 years, and she does have experience, but the experience is one of failure, time and again. And that stays with you in this debate. I don't think that leaves, even if Hillary's polished, and again, I think she looked good. She obviously did have the stamina. And I think each of these experiences for Trump will be a learning experience. She's done the one-on-one debates time and again.
What does he need to do preparing for the next debate?
I think what's always helpful, and I find this, I'm going to be debating with Newt Gingrich on Friday in Toronto, and we have our own game plan, but
Aren't you both on the same side?
We are, but we're debating two very crafty liberals on Friday. But you have a few points, and you really always kind of work your way back to those points. Hillary Clinton is part of the corruption machine in Washington. We've seen where her ethical ratings are, and for good reason. She profited off of her position at the State Department when she was supposed to be serving the people. That's one. Number two, she says the economy's fine. Is it? You all feel like the country's going in the right direction? I don't think so.
Right.
We've tried her way. Now it's my turn. It's our turn. We're going to turn this thing around. And number three, foreign policy, what she's in charge of, is in chaos. The Middle East is in chaos. She applied all of her, frequent flyer miles to, being Secretary of State, but it didn't work. I'm going to put you first. And no matter what gotcha questions are asked tonight, you're still my #1 priority. And I'm really grateful to be here tonight. I've really learned a lot in the last year. Those moments of grace, which we've all seen Trump have, I want to see those a little bit more in the next debate, and a little bit of charm. A little bit of charm, a little punch, a little hug, a little charm, strength. But I think he had bits and pieces of that last night. I think the next debate you'll see a little bit more.
It probably didn't change anybody's minds. If you liked him going in, you liked him.
Yeah, there's a lot of smug Democrats today. They're like, "See, I told you so. He couldn't perform on the big stage." I don't think that's the way most people are looking at this. I think most people are looking at this as Hillary Clinton can talk a good game, but in the end, what did her policies and her actions accomplish for the everyman? And whether the debate was, scored on her behalf or not, in the end, I don't think that really matters in this election. I really don't.
Independents, undecideds. That's the key. So most people talk to people in their own party, so you're not going to get a real response. So what are you looking for? What poll do you say, well, this is really my bellwether?
I want to see where the college-educated voters are and the millennials after this debate. I want to see those two figures. I also want to see where the woman vote is after this debate. I think when Hillary came up, like, this is why you treat women. Oh, is this all? I'd be like, is this all you have? You've been in public life for almost 3 decades, and you're doing the 8th grade thing with me? Yeah. Why don't we talk about what's happened to this country under your watch? I'd turn all that on her, because that's the kind of stuff people are really tired of. And I think that's another reason why people don't like the media. Lester Holt gave her a lot of assists last night. Rudy was right earlier, no doubt about it. But Trump, I think, was expecting that the media is not going to be, 100% fair to a conservative Republican. It's not going to happen.
You mentioned the talking points and how he needs to have these 3 or 4 talking points that he can talk around to. We asked him about that today, and he said sometimes it's hard when you're asked a question about something totally off Benghazi to get it back to Benghazi. So it's hard to get back to those talking points.
She did it. She did it last night several times.
She's been doing it 30 years.
She did it on the woman question. They weren't talking about the way he treated women. They were talking about, I can't remember what it was, but she dovetailed it back to, well, and by the way, or you do say, like, look, this is what I'm focusing on for the American people. Or, I think that's a good question, but let's take a step back. And let's really look at the broad picture of what's happened in America. There's little rhetorical tools that you can use that are just common debate tools that, again, you have to practice.
We don't even remember what the question was.
Yeah, and I think, again, we're thinking every person watching this is with a notepad and going, okay, she got this, he didn't mention Benghazi, oh wait, she made this point and he didn't mention the Clinton Foundation. Right. Most people want a strong America and things to change for the better, whether they're partisan or not. Right. They want things to be better for our country.
Well, you just mentioned Benghazi, Clinton email, and also the Clinton Foundation. Those are things that Lester Holt never asked about.
Cybersecurity. He asked the cybersecurity, Steve, with a straight face to Hillary Clinton.
But instead,
Trump didn't say it.
Didn't pick up the ball and run with it.
And Trump got grilled on his tax returns, on the Iraq War, when he was a private businessman, on the Bertha thing, bankruptcies.
But again, but those are all to be expected. The Bertha question that's at the top of the list.
How did you think he responded to it?
Well, I think we spent too much time on it. I mean, everyone knows watching me. I'm going to tell you what I think. Spent too much time on it. What I would have done is said, oh, really? First of all, I put that to rest. Lester, why are you obsessed with this question? And do you think at this point, the point is where President Obama was born, or what was born out of 8 years of failed policies? You take one of their words, you turn it, and then you make your point. But you don't sort of, I wouldn't have spent 5 minutes on the
He was explaining the backstory.
We don't want the backstory. We don't want the backstory. We want the story of America. And I want a few more anecdotes from the trail. Hillary's very good at weaving in those personal anecdotes. We want more anecdotes. Well, Janet Matheson came up to me last week. She's a mom, single mom, 2 kids. She has not enough money put away in a bank account for a rainy day. Let me tell you, I'm here tonight for her. We need some of those moments of grace and moments of personal a narrative and storytelling that stays with people.
I mean, here's an example. You have a guy that decided to invest in wealthy high-rises. Okay, that's where he wants to invest. Other people want to, want to make wine or make beer. This is what he tried to do. Doesn't mean he doesn't like poor people. But now that he's traveling the country, I'm fascinated when the cameras are down. What is it like meeting a group of people in different areas of the cities and in suburbs that you never met before? What have you learned from traveling the country, even at the age of 7?
Right, and we all learn. Don't we all learn when we travel around the country? And I know he does. I know he learns. I know he's deeply touched by the victims of crime.
He was moved by Detroit.
I think Donald Trump in Detroit and Donald Trump maybe in Mexico, those were moments for him that I think it's a narrative he wants to repeat. Now, you can't do that every time. But it's good to have a moment where you step back and you say, as we're closing tonight, I just want to say what a privilege it is to be here.
Or the flooding in Louisiana. Remember when he went down
he was
there?
phenomenal. Yeah. But the idea that Donald Trump's a businessman doesn't care about that's ridiculous. But again, I think most people see that, and I think most people know that. But you need to drive that home. You need to put Hillary away in this next debate. You can't wait to the third debate to put her away. I'd put her away in the next debate. And he can do it, absolutely.
We were talking in the green room area, and you said that, because the way we watch TV, where we've got a pad and like this, but the average person at home walking in and out, going to the kitchen.
Yeah, they're like, well, she looks pretty good. I'm like, he's not insulting her. And she looks better than she looked, at 9/11. So, it's a draw. I think most people look at it.
She was conscious.
Yeah, well, yes, exactly. The metaphor didn't play out, but I think most people watch this and they think, they're still at each other's throats, and my life is still. I
know we have time for this, but the next debate's at Town Hall.
Yeah.
So people are going to be asking questions. He's most likely going to be on his feet. They're going to be going in and out of each other. Tell me about the skill set he brings to the table. Is that going to be harder?
No, I think when you see him one-on-one with people, as I have, as many of us have, that's his strength. He's so kind and he's so gracious to the individual, to the mom, to the factory worker, to the everyman. And you see him whether it's on the street or in a crowd or even at one of his venues, his clubs. The people know he really cares. Thank you for what you did to my family last week. I really appreciate that. We need to see those moments. Just because you're criticized on every point. Or on certain points, you don't have to respond. You say, something, I understand why you're making that point, but let me tell you the way I see it. Or I get what you're saying there. That's a good point. I don't quite agree with the way you framed it, but let me tell you about my story of what I've seen in America. I think to kind of take it down a little, take it down a notch, and listen. Well, sometimes listening is just a really good thing to do.
Some are comparing him to Bill Clinton because Bill Clinton is known to do that kind of thing. And I know when I met Donald Trump for the first time, he was talking about the ratings on our show. I'm like, I don't even know what the ratings are necessarily.
But he cares about what you're doing.
He had looked it up.
Put your arm around someone and say, gosh, thank you for being here for me. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for sharing your concerns. He does that beautifully. I hope we see that at the next debate.
Well, I just think in the big picture, it might actually come down to a ground game that I know the RNC is extremely confident on. It might come down to money, where Hillary seems to have more money than. We have not seen any television ads come out for any consistency. Very curious to see if this very different style of campaigning is going to change politics
Facebook ads alone, I don't think do it. I really don't. I think you need to have some presence on the airwaves, and I think the ads have to be more than just cut, paste, flag waving. Yeah. I think it's got to be the faces of America. This is what we've lost in America. This is what we're going to have. And you need to see some sunshine at the end. I'm coming. Help is on the way. The sun's about to come out, and I'm on your side. I want to see those ads end with I'm on your side.
Yeah.
She's on the big donor side. He didn't talk about the big donors enough last night. She's on their side. They're with her. I'm with you.
All right. Laura Ingraham's got to go do her radio show, got to go edit.
What do I know? I'm just a radio host and a website person. I don't know. That's my debate analysis.
Thank you very much.
An hour of sleep last night?
Yeah, at least an hour, yeah.
All right.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. All right, more debate reactions still ahead, including our interview with Donald Trump's son, Eric.
He could have gone in so many different directions. He could have been much harder on her in so many ways. He could have taken the low road.
And this one ended with another special guest who kept coming up. His name kept coming up during the debate.
I can't wait to see who that is. Then, many people frustrated. Trump skipped an opportunity to attack Hillary Clinton and how she's treated women. Was it the right idea? Donald Trump's campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, here live to explain.
Right after the debate last night, it was unprecedented. Donald Trump and his entire family walk into the spin room where we were last night.
The Lion's Den.
I know. It started interviewing with so many different media outlets. I got a one-on-one with Donald Trump. You talked to Donald Trump, too. He talked to so many people at Fox and other channels. We also had a one-on-one with his son, Eric Trump. Take a listen.
First presidential debate, your dad's up on stage. How did you think he did, and how did Hillary do?
Honestly, I'm thrilled. He did amazing. I was proud of him. We were sitting front row. I think we all had big smiles on our face. He was incredibly measured. He was so respectful of her, and I was really proud of him when he walked off that stage.
What moment stuck out the most tonight?
Yeah, I think when he was comparing taxes. You know, we want to put people back to work in this country. Hillary's talking about, you know, raising taxes on everybody. My father wants to reduce taxes across the board. He wants to put this nation back to work. It's very, very simple.
Hillary accused her dad of doing crazy things, of being racist, of being unprepared. What was your reaction?
No, I think it's very, very sad. You see these sound bites. I mean, she perpetrates this everywhere. She's spending $750 million in negative ads. Not one of these ads talks about her accomplishments being a politician for 35 years. We have bombs going off in New York and New Jersey and stabbings in Minnesota. We have ISIS on the rise. The Middle East is a total hornet's nest. And she just runs negative ads about my father, and she hasn't fixed any of the problems. It's very, very sad, and we need better leadership than that.
Were you surprised that she was driving people to her website to do fact-checking and to defend herself? Is that a missed opportunity?
I think what people saw tonight was the difference between a totally scripted, you know, candidate versus somebody who speaks from the heart and speaks off the vest. And, you know, I think that's the difference between a politician and somebody who's been in business their entire life, who's created tens and tens of thousands of jobs. My father's created tens of thousands of jobs. Hillary signed, you know, the back of a check her entire life. She's never created one job. And it's very, very different between the two candidates.
People said he just needed to stay cool. He needed to stay in control, and he did tonight. Wasn't as exciting of a debate to watch as some of the ones in the past where things got a little out of control.
He could have gone in so many different directions. He could have been much harder on her in so many ways. He could have taken the low road, and I think she did in many instances during the debate. He took the high road. I think he did win, and I think he will win, and I know we're going to win. You see the polls that came out today, and we're leading in states that have never been won by a Republican before. We're leading in places like Colorado and Nevada. He's really redefined the map in the United States, and he stayed cool tonight, and as a son, I was so proud of him. I mean, he just did an excellent job.
What do you give credit to? He wasn't a career politician. Has he just learned along the way what to do, or is it because of his new team?
Well, I think it's a little bit of everything. I mean, I think my father was himself, and I think he spoke from the heart, and I think he did a lot of preparation. I think that really, you know, served him very well tonight.
How did your dad prepare?
Yeah, we did a lot of preparation, but his way of preparing is surrounding himself by the smartest people, the best people. I mean, he's been traveling everywhere with General Flynn and General Kellogg and so many incredible people. I mean, people who are really at the top of, you know, their respective game, and he talks to these people, and he has conversations with them, and he dives deep into the different topics, and, you know, that's how he prepares. He doesn't study flashcards with little written sentences on them. I mean, he travels with the best people, and he surrounds himself by the best people.
Also, Eric, he used Sean Hannity. You became Sean, come here.
Come on.
You became the Joe the plumber of this election last night or tonight.
And the funny thing is, I'm like, I even said to him tonight, you really remember that, because we would argue, but it was friendly argument
about the Iraq War.
His ears must have been ringing.
Right.
He mentioned Sean Hannity's name like 10 times in the middle of the debate.
Yeah.
All right. Coming up on this, let's see, it's Tuesday.
That's right. Well, personally invited by Donald Trump was Gold Star mom Karen Vaughn. She had a front row seat to history last night at the debate. She and her husband Billy are going to join us next with their insight and firsthand experience from the audience.
And let the spin begin. From Reince Priebus to Mark Cuban. I take you into the spin room because not everyone could get in. There was a lot of security.
Brian had his credentials. You saw it the other day. He was proud of those credentials.
Good morning to you and welcome back to Fox and Friends. 24 minutes after the hour. Thousands today in the Midwest are bracing for devastating, record-breaking flooding. The Cedar River is expected to crest in Cedar Rapids, Iowa later this morning. The city now putting up temporary flood walls and forcing 5,000 people to evacuate as it braces for what is possibly catastrophic water level. And 400,000 children could soon be without teachers. The Chicago Teachers Union voting to authorize a strike as early as next month. They've been going back and forth with the cash-strapped school district for more than a year over contract and pension negotiations. Those are your headlines. I'll see you back here real soon. Ainsley.
All right. Thanks so much, Heather. Donald Trump had a handful of special guests in the audience last night, including our next guest, Karen Vaughn, and her husband.
They are Gold Star parents. Her son, Navy SEAL Aaron Vaughn, was killed in Afghanistan back in 2011.
That's right. After his death, Karen and her husband Billy made it their mission to speak out on military issues.
Joining us now for their take, I should say, on last night's debate and their experience there in the audience, Karen Vaughn and her husband, Billy Vaughn. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
First, we're so sorry about your loss. We've talked about Aaron. I know you were speaking at the convention and did a great job there. Why is it important to support Donald Trump after the loss of your son?
Well, I'll go first. We need a safe America again. This administration and their policies, along with Hillary Clinton, have utterly failed American citizens. They've failed the U.S. military, and, you know, we just need safety. We need security. We need somebody who will say what they mean and mean what they say, and we definitely need somebody who believes in the people of this country instead of, knocking off 25% of them as deplorables and different comments. Like 50% of our, but 25% of the entire population, right. Basically, she calls deplorables, which was never brought up last night.
Yeah. A number of questions that they never did. Billy, let me ask you this. So you're in the audience and you were told, everybody, pipe down. Yeah. Even if you want to make some racket, how'd you abide by that?
I did well all night long, except at one point when Mr. Trump said, when she asked about his IRS, about his tax return, by the way, which is not against the law, the IRS is governing him, and then he said if you'd release the 3,000 emails, and the place erupted, and I fell in line there a little bit.
And what, did anybody nearby go tisk tisk?
Oh, I got a
like that?
Yeah, just. Was someone just dismissive, just like Hillary treated Donald Trump all night long. Just dismissive.
Can I say something? Everybody we've had on here this morning has been experts, okay? And they've been doing this a long time. But I wouldn't be here today if my son hadn't died. Y'all wouldn't listen to anything I have to say. So I'm speaking to you as just a guy from out there. And this is what I see. I see a man with passion when I look at Mr. Trump. I see a man who wants to make America better. No, he doesn't say everything right. He doesn't say in the way that Mrs. Clinton or a seasoned politician or somebody who's been there most of my life would say it. And this morning you had Mr. Podesta on here, and he talked smooth just like Mrs. Clinton. But he's been with Mrs. Clinton and the Clintons all these years. He knows where the bodies are buried. In fact, maybe he helped shovel dirt on some of them.
And Barack Obama.
And right. President Obama. And for Mrs. Clinton cannot separate herself from the last 8 years. And Mr. Trump made that clear last night. She wants it both ways, though. She wants to talk about how good things are, and then she wants to talk about things that need to be done to fix things. And one of the key things she said last night, she wants to retrain our law enforcement.
Yep.
This is exactly what Mr. Obama and Mrs. Clinton in the State Department did to our military, and it caused needless sacrifice, needless lives were lost because of this retraining.
All right, so let's get your takes. For someone who really has some skin in this game with the loss of your son, when they say that Donald Trump's acting irresponsibly because he said that if Iran's going to buzz our ships, they're going to hear from us, essentially. They're going to get hit back. You saw what Iran did to it 3 times last week. They buzzed our ships in the Persian Gulf. They taunted, as the Russians have done, as the Chinese have done, as North Korea taunts. Does that showing that Donald Trump wanting to respond aggressively is the wrong leader?
This is what I'll say about that. One of the things that impressed me the most about Mr. Trump, besides his passion, he is continually surrounding himself with good people. People that Americans can trust, people that have a good track record for standing up against our enemies, people that have a track record for putting America first, and people like me out there, because I don't talk to the people y'all talk to here, but people like me out there in the country, rednecks, just common everyday people, but who are working and who are, I'm concerned too. Mrs. Clinton said she's concerned about her grandkids. We've got 6. We're not going to leave them a country like my son and my daughters grew up in if we continue down this road that Mrs. Clinton wants to give us. Mr. Trump is surrounding himself with people who will make this country what it needs to be again.
Karen, your son Aaron was a Navy SEAL. He fought for this country, and we are so proud of him for that and thank him for that. He had 2 children, leaves those behind. You'll have 6 grandchildren. Are you fighting so hard for Trump because you believe that he's going to turn this country around for your grandkids and prevent other kids like your son from dying?
That's absolutely why I fight. And, you know, adding to what Brian's question was earlier, and that combined is that Aaron was 7 years old when Ronald Reagan spoke those famous words, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." He didn't say, let's have a beer and sit down and talk about it. He didn't say, I'm going to funnel you $400 or $1.7 billion, $400 million or $1.7 billion in cash under the, you know, under
on pallets.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. In the dark of night, he said, tear down this wall. And what happened? The wall came down because in that era, our word meant something. People knew you did not mess with the United States of America. We were the balancing factor across the nations. And that's what we believe Mr. Trump can provide again through strong leadership. We have been leading from behind for 7.5 years, and the world is in chaos because when there's a vacancy of power with good people, the bad people will fill that vacancy, and that's exactly what we've witnessed.
Such powerful words. Karen and Billy Vaughn joining us today from Stuart, Florida. Karen, thank you.
Thank you.
Billy?
Honored to be here.
Nice seeing you. Honored to have you.
All our best to both of you and to your two daughters.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, straight ahead on this Tuesday, Donald Trump took the high road and refused to attack the Clintons' personal past on the debate stage last night. Was it the right move or a missed opportunity? Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway is going to react. She's come on in. She's next on Fox and Friends.
To know the truth. I was going to say something extremely rough to Hillary, to her family, and I said to myself, I can't do it. I just can't do it. It's inappropriate. It's not nice. But she spent hundreds of millions of dollars on negative ads on me, many of which are absolutely untrue. And I will tell you this, Lester, it's not nice, and I don't deserve that.
Donald Trump coming under fire for what many critics say was a missed opportunity to take down Hillary Clinton once and for all. So did he make a mistake? Here to react?
Donald Trump's campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, was it a mistake not to go out and say, well, if you don't like the way I spoke about women, what about the way your husband treated women?
It was an exercise in tremendous restraint, and restraint is a virtue. And in fact, Brian, it's a presidential virtue. I think Donald Trump's restraint there in not bringing up what millions of Americans must have had on their minds, which is, really, she's going to take you on a comment here and there you've made about women, and yet her husband has admitted to having affairs, and of course, including one with an intern in the White House when he was president of the United States, paid out a settlement to Paula Jones. The last time I didn't sexually harass someone, I didn't give them $700,000 in a settlement. So instead of going there, he explained, hey, I'm prepared to do that. I knew this was coming, but I'm not going to do it because your husband and your daughter are here. And then he went on to say, and yet this doesn't stop you, Hillary Clinton, from running hundreds of millions of dollars of negative ads against me. Those are just the ads you see, by the way. We now have these mail pieces that are about Trump and women going to independent and Republican leading women in states like Florida. We just got those yesterday, brought to our attention. So I think this will grow in importance over the next couple of days when people realize what he didn't say, what was conspicuous by its absence. It doesn't mean people won't think it, though. It doesn't mean that they already haven't made up their own minds.
Well, last night was historic. First time we'd seen a woman on a presidential stage. First time in history that I can remember where you've got somebody who is not a professional politician.
That's right.
A businessman.
Maybe Ross Perot?
Yeah, same thing. And then you've got he's got many opportunities to take shots at her. You've got to do some training ahead of time, though, and it was revealed that apparently he didn't do the standard debate prep where you get in a room, you answer questions for 90 minutes. Given how the first one went, will there be changes in the preparation for the second one?
He did a lot of debate prep, Steve. I think that's a myth that people are pushing to sort of diminish like how serious he is about this. He's incredibly serious. He takes the job very seriously. He didn't need to run for president. People run for fame and fortune and status and power. He had all of that. The sacrifice he and the Trump family are making is enormous, and it should not be lost on folks. She's the one who's got that typical D.C. political resume. Hey, this should come next. I waited my turn. I'm next. I deserve it. But when it comes to debate preparation, he did take rapid-fire questions for quite a while from a number of us, and he handled them beautifully. I thought some of the questions last night were completely predictable. We knew they were coming. We know what the obsessions are, particularly in the mainstream media, so that didn't come as a surprise. But I also think Donald Trump, if he's guilty of anything, it's answering every single question that's asked of him, as opposed to Hillary Clinton deflecting, and thoroughly, as opposed to her deflecting and trying to get out every single thing she had memorized so we all can see how over-prepared she was. Look, anybody watching that debate last night did not see in Hillary Clinton a change maker, a disruptor, somebody who can credibly say with a straight face she's going to change the status quo in Washington. If you're worried about your job, or you're worried about having a well-paying job, you're concerned about chronic wage stagnation, you think that radical Islamic terrorists are savage murderers and not our, quote, determined enemies, as she famously referred to them in her convention speech, then you know who you're going to vote for. I'm not sure that that changed any minds last night. Meanwhile, he took the case right to her, especially on matters like trade and ISIS. Basically holding her to account for her record and for President Obama's record on those issues.
Mr. Podesta was on our set earlier about an hour ago, and we were talking about
campaign manager.
Exactly, for Hillary Clinton. And he said if you attack the moderator, then that means you have lost the debate. Now, keep in mind, they attacked
Matt Lauer, because she was so awful in that commander-in-chief for him.
Well, and I asked him about that, and yeah. So, what do you think about that? Do you want to go after Lester Holt? I mean, I heard last night. Yeah, did you think he was fair?
So, Mr. Trump and I have both said publicly, and I'll repeat it here, Ainsley, that Lester Holt did a good job, and he did a great job under very tough circumstances. One of the things that nobody's ever going to be satisfied with is, why wasn't this issue raised? Why wasn't that issue raised? And I saw your graphic earlier that Donald Trump was grilled, indeed cross-examined on a number of issues. You listed them there. And that didn't happen with Hillary Clinton on Benghazi, on emails. Mr. Trump had to mention the emails.
Pay for play.
No real, that's right, the State Department.
Deplorables.
By the way, the deplorables, things, pick a card, any card. The fact that she's for late-term abortion, a sex-selective abortion, if we're talking about domestic issues, the fact that she changed her mind, did a total 180 on gay marriage. She ran in 2008, emphatically defending traditional marriage, and now running in 2016 has totally shifted on that completely. So there are many things that weren't asked. But look, that's why it's important to have full-fledged campaigns in between these debates. I think it's too bad that people had to wait to tune into a presidential debate to see how Hillary Clinton really thinks on the issues. Unless you're a fat cat donor at one of her fundraisers, you don't get the benefit on a regular basis to hear what she thinks. Contrast that to Donald Trump, who's out in the stump every day. He's on his way to Florida now after a long night last night. He'll have a long day in Florida today. Then he'll be in Chicago tomorrow and Wisconsin. Why?
After going
because
to the
he's
spin
bringing
room.
the case. That's right. He's bringing the case directly to people. Going to the spin room was unprecedented. I was so glad he wanted to do that.
Right, and so are we. Because you got
a great interview.
Yeah, thanks.
Kellyanne, thank you very much for dropping by.
Anytime.
Good luck. All right. By the way, we should point out, while we had Donald Trump on the program, we invite Hillary Clinton on the program every day. Same thing for Jim.
She's always booked.
Anytime she wants to accept that.
She's preparing for the next debate.
Exactly.
All right. Meanwhile, on this Tuesday, Donald Trump hammering Hillary Clinton last night on her plan to fight ISIS.
I'll take the admirals and I'll take the generals any day over the political hacks that I see that have led our country so brilliantly over the last 10 years with their knowledge, okay? Because look at the mess that we're in.
So who made the better case for national security? Pete Hegseth and former U.S. Senator Scott Brown. Join us live straight ahead. Brian?
Yep, I'll take it from here, Steve. You just sit down. And let the spin begin. I'm going to take you inside the spin room last night. Don't ask me what happens. I can't give it all away. But I talked to Mark Cuban.
Good morning. Welcome back to Fox and Friends. We have some breaking new details coming in overnight on the shooting death of Keith Lamont Scott. Police now say he was carrying a stolen gun when he was shot and killed in Charlotte. A burglar telling police that he sold it to Scott. This as it's revealed that Scott's wife had filed a restraining order against him last year. She told police that he had a gun, he hit her, and threatened to kill her. And we now have some new information coming in on that body camera footage you're about to see. We want to warn you, it may be disturbing. Police say that there is no audio associated with this video at the beginning because the officer didn't turn on that audio until after the shooting. The only video can be recovered from that time period and not that audio. Well, some new details coming in this morning on the death of Miami Marlins star pitcher Jose Fernandez. TMZ now reporting that the 24-year-old spent his final hours partying at a Miami hotspot before that deadly boat accident. This comes as chilling new text messages show that he may have been upset before the crash that also killed 2 of his friends. One of the messages coming in from a friend saying that they should stay close to the shore and keep Jose cool. That friend writing back, "Don't worry, it's not my time yet." Wow. And those are your headlines. Brian, Stephen, Amber. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, Seth.
Last night when the interviews, when the debate ended, it was time to get to as many interviews and perspectives as possible. They call it the spin room. Picture a huge gym with a rug and a lot of VIPs mixed in with a lot of security. In between, I think you'll recognize a lot of these faces from both sides. The spin room as it was.
It starts here.
I thought that he looked presidential. I thought that was the main question on the table tonight. I think he did really well.
She looked like a commander-in-chief. She looked prepared, even if people don't agree with everything she said.
Debate number 1 is in the books. The Hillary camp, I'm sure, thinks she won. The Trump camp thinks he won. We're in the spin room to find out how they're going to tell us what's next and what it's going to do to the polls.
I don't think we're going to see any serious change in the polls. I think that the electorate is just too polarized. I think that that's the state of our country right now.
You know, when you look at the policies that were talked about tonight, I think Trump made the best point when he said, what kind of experience does she have? It's bad experience.
How'd the moderator do?
Lester Holt did a good job under very tough circumstances. Many millions of people watching. It was just unfortunate that Mr. Trump was the only one who mentioned her emails. And then the question was just, hey, what about your emails?
First one-on-one, what was it like watching for you, for the family?
Well, I think it's always more intense for us than it is for him. I mean, we take it so personally. He was a lot calmer probably than we were going into it.
Wow. And Tiffany, what'd you think?
I think he did fantastic, honestly. Hopefully one day I could handle something like that as well as he did.
This is Mark Cuban right after his sparring session with Megyn Kelly. Mark, what'd you think? This is new to you, this whole thing.
Yeah, this is kind of new to me. I mean, I thought Donald was kind of flustered. I thought he got...
Not in the beginning, though.
No, right off the bat. I think she won the first quarter, to use a basketball analogy. I think he won the second quarter, and then she ran away in the third and fourth quarters.
Donald, how's it going?
Yeah, it was great.
How did it feel?
Great. Mr. Trump, it really felt great. I have to tell you, it really felt great. It was, you know, we want to save this country. Our country's going so bad, Brian. You know it. You know it. And whether it's jobs or illegal immigration, you saw the 800 people that became citizens and they were supposed to be deported. Our country's in serious trouble. I think it went really great because I was able to explain it, and based on all the online polls afterwards, it looks like I did a good job.
First time you ever matched up one-on-one with someone, what was the big difference? Compare that to the Republicans you went against.
Well, the Republicans were very smart. I mean, when you're going against Ted Cruz and Rubio and all of the guys that, you know, we went against with the Republicans, they're very smart. It was good training for me, frankly. I enjoyed that, and I very much enjoyed tonight. But, you know, Brian, you know this. It's about making America great again, and I think we're going to be well on our way to doing it. And you've seen the polls come out. In fact, I saw you this morning with the polls. The polls came out on your show.
You came out surging today. Do you think this will continue the surge?
Well, I think so. You know, we have to do a lot in our country. And, again, you know what came out to me more than anything else? She talks about all the things she's going to do. Where's she been for 26 years?
Right. Okay, fine.
Thank
you so much.
Well, one place she wasn't was the spin room last night. For the major candidate to come into the spin room, you don't see that every day.
Unbelievable. And he talked to so many people, didn't he?
Yeah, and John Podesta told, right before he started saying to you, I go, was it surprising to you that Donald Trump came out? He goes, nothing surprised me with Donald Trump. Because we never considered Hillary coming out.
Right, and so Sean Hannity was getting this exclusive with him, and so everyone in that room knew to go over to where Sean Hannity was in like a little dressing room area that was blocked off with all these sheets, and so everyone with their cameras was around that, and security was everywhere too, and then Donald came out of that interview with Sean and started talking to everyone else.
I feel like I was there.
You just can't remember it because we're all sleep deprived.
Yes.
All right, meanwhile, straight ahead on this Tuesday, Donald Trump hammering Hillary Clinton on her plan to fight ISIS. So who made the better case for national security? Pete Hegseth and former U.S. Senator Scott Brown reporting for duty next.
But first, let's check in with Martha MacCallum because I promised I would.
Hi, Martha.
Hey, Martha.
Hello there.
Hello there. Good morning, you guys. Great to see you all. So, as you've been talking about, debate number 1 is now in the books. It's sort of sinking in to the conscience of the country. They went at it hard. She was studied. She was smiley. He was stern. He was counterpunching. We've got a great lineup to analyze all of it for you this morning. See what you guys thought. See what the folks here thought. Steyerwalt, York, Rove, Martin O'Malley, much more. All here to look at the big night when Bill and I see you getting ready to go at the top of the hour.
A big debate topic last night, how to keep America safe.
National security. Donald Trump touting all of the support that he is getting from ICE, from Border Patrol agents, and from admirals.
Joining us right now to discuss how the candidates did discussing national security is Fox News contributor Pete Hegseth and former U.S. Senator from Massachusetts, Scott Brown. Senator, what'd you think last night?
Listen, I thought that when it comes to national security and when it comes to world affairs, I thought Donald Trump has had a natural advantage all throughout this process, because when you look at the problems, and he touched upon it, I don't think well enough, when it comes to all the problems with ISIS, they didn't leave a transition quick reaction training force in Iraq, and now you have ISIS, which was formerly Al-Qaeda of Iraq, the reset with Russia, Assad's a reformer, Boko Haram not being named a terrorist group. All these things happened under Hillary Clinton's watch. So yes, the Middle East is a mess. I think he hit that appropriately, and to think that she's now going to go in and fix it, I think is almost laughable.
And then she tries to spin the Iran deal as some sort of a success.
Yeah,
I mean,
great deal.
A great deal. When you ask her supporters what they point to that, which is clearly falling apart and enriching a regime that's very dangerous. At the end of the day, will Donald Trump pass the basic commander-in-chief test? And I think he did that last night. The bar was low, but people say, oh, he's not. Can he have his hand on the nuclear button? Will he be safe? People look at him behind a podium and say, this is a reasonable person who will make sound decisions. I may not agree with him, but he could be commander-in-chief. That's the biggest thing he had to do, and I think he did that.
Reasonable decisions, and absolutely showed that he greatly loves and cares about America and making America the world leader so our allies trust us and our foes fear us. I want our foes to be feared by us economically, educationally, militarily. I want that, and Hillary doesn't bring that, and Donald does.
Were you disappointed? Did he miss the opportunity, speaking of national security, to go after her about her email scandal and about Benghazi and the Clinton Foundation?
I would have loved a question about the VA, the border.
Yeah, listen, and you have the beauty of it is it's a three-game playoff. The first one, I think, was basically a draw. She probably won by a tick. Singles and doubles, no home runs, no real mistakes by the candidates, and he has an opportunity. He's going to sit back and say, you know what, man, I got too much in the weeds. I took too much time. I need to answer it and tell people what I want to do.
Absolutely. And one last thing on Law and Order. She talked about wanting to retrain the cops.
Yeah, really?
As if that's...
Sure, they didn't appreciate
that's
that.
not what they want to hear.
All right.
That's what America wants.
Pete, Scott, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
More Fox and Friends just moments away.
I know it's 9 a.m.
Mike was hot.
I know it's 9 a.m. in the East, but we're already thinking about a nap.
We had like an hour sleep last night, which you did too if you watched the debate.
If you have to run for the TV, run to the radio. We've got a great show lined up. We're going to talk, believe it or not, about the debate.
There you go. Well, that's it for today. Here now, America's Newsroom.
Stay within yourself.